Matt McGuire on the show today. He's a big Boston's fan. He's a Frisbee player for Keene State. And we're going to talk a little bit about some hockey topics, and then we're also going to go into some free agents, and then, another topic that we'll hopefully get to.
I just got a email just right now. Just got this. It says that Tom Brady will be wearing number 12 for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Godwin is giving up his number. So
yeah, that's kind of crazy, to be honest with you, that Goodwin would give up his number after X years with the team.
I mean, it's Tom Brady. I mean, you gotta have to give it to him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All
right, let's get into hockey here. Let's start off with McGuire's thoughts on if the season will start back up or not. I know we talked about this with Wilkie a couple episodes back, but I want to get your thoughts before we dive into other topics. What do you think, Matt?
So this is kind of a weird subject. This has never really happened before in the NHL. So everyone's kind of got a different take on it. Higgins, I heard yours. No offense. Tough take on that one, in my opinion. Hate to be that guy, but tough take. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work out. It's got to be fair somehow, and honestly, I just don't see it being fair. I can't see the season being resumed. The NHL, I've heard rumors that they set a date somewhere around I want to say now it's like a month and a half from now, where if things haven't settled down, they're just not going to continue the season. They're going to cancel it like the AHL and so many other leagues have. I think that there's a point to be made where as things start to open up, like a hockey practice, it really isn't, say, like that many people. There's probably 25 people there. So that would be opened up early. So with that, kind of brings the point that they could start training earlier and the season would actually get underway as things open up. I'm not sure exactly how that would work and 100% if that would work, but that was one of the thoughts I had about it. But all in all, I don't think the season will be resumed. I just can't see it.
After that podcast, I've been looking at stuff and thinking, it's just going to be so difficult to bring back the season. I think NBA I think that would be the only one maybe. If they had, the players with the virus, I think NBA would be the easier game to bring back than hockey. It just, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I know, Tiger, you agree with McGuire on this topic. Yeah. I know you do.
Yep. Yeah, I think it just needs to be shut down.
Yeah, that's just probably the easiest.
It's a hard decision.
It is a hard decision, but it's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the Bruins a little bit. My point here, how long can the Bruins sustain their dominance? Tiger, I'll start with you on this.
I think that they can sustain it for a good amount of time. I mean, you're obviously going to have your battles with the Lightning and the Leafs. And, part of me still thinks that the Leafs in a couple of years are going to fight for that top spot. I know they're not there yet and they haven't really been there for the past couple of years, but those three are really the powerhouses. I'm just looking at the standings. The next closest team to a playoff spot are the Florida Panthers, and I can't see them really in the next 10 years taking a shot at that top spot. So I would say right now you're looking at Boston, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. Those are going to be the powerhouses out of the Atlantic. Now, I'm assuming that for the next couple of years, it's going to be kind of a scramble between who gets 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. The Bruins just have a very young team. I think they can keep it for a while. Pastrnak, arguably the best player on the team between him and a few other guys.
Look, I don't know how young that team is. I mean, you look at Tuukka Rask and you look at Chara and Bergeron and Marchand's even getting there too. It's a weird mix.
Marchand's only
a lot of veteran players and a lot of young guys on the third and fourth line.
Marchand's only 31.
I was actually thinking the same thing where they're they have so much depth on that team, but still they really don't have any real old guys other than Chara.
Yeah. The second oldest guy on the team is Halak, who's 34, and then Bergeron's 34. Those are the oldest.
Yeah, but I mean, you got some core guys on there that are the people who are older are core guys.
Yeah, but you also it's only 34 years old. I mean,
it's still old for you're not going to get a handful of Zdeno Charas who can play well into their 40s. It's just not really going to happen. There are going to be some guys that go even just a few years after Chara decides to hang them up.
Which is when? Let's get into that right now. When is Chara going to retire? Does he come back next year, or does he retire now?
Well, I don't think that he would bow out at the end of an incomplete season. I don't see that happening. I think the Bruins and Chara have both been very okay with signing one-year deals, and that can continue as long as both parties are happy. And I'm sure that they're not looking at him and saying, well, you know what, we can't do it with you anymore. Sorry, Z. And I'm sure he's not done. So I'm not convinced that we will that we'll see him leave the game.
I was reading something today, and it was saying that Chara is like the guy in the team who's saying he doesn't want anyone to talk about his contract, or he doesn't want to talk to the team about his contract until everyone ahead of him gets a contract that they deserve.
That's
we were
great.
talking about Krug, that's saying, like our next topic about Krug signing with the team, he was saying that he would rather Krug sign a deal than him sign a deal at his age.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a team player at the fucking, core right there. Go ahead, Matt.
Right.
Yeah, that's why, personally, I think he's going to call it quits. He's going to retire. Obviously, a Boston legend. He'll be remembered by so many people. If he retires this year or next year, there's really not a big window for him. Guy's getting old, and no offense, he's no Jaromir Jagr. His age is showing. And I think by providing the Bruins, like you said, saying how the Bruins were going to – or what did you say about Chara wanting to
he was
let the other guy sign
Yeah,
first?
he he was talking about how he would rather the team sign more important players to the team than bring him before they talk about his contract.
Yeah, and that is probably the best example of why he's a captain.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of any other player that would actually come out and say that. Or at least I've never heard of it. And for him to say that is unreal because he's really thinking about the future of the Bruins.
Yeah.
I'm sure that when he does stop skating, he'll find his way somewhere in the Bruins organization.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that they would create a job for him if that's what it took.
That's basically
because that kind of presence is not
Florida.
Something that you can really replicate easily.
Sorry, that's basically what Florida did with Sean Thornton. I might be wrong there actually, but I'm pretty sure Florida did that with Sean Thornton, and now he's working in their office. Because I heard somewhere that he actually wasn't even fully qualified for the position, but they liked the guy so much that they hired him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's 100% true, but maybe it's just a rumor.
All right, so let's jump into will they be able to re-sign Krug after, depending on what happens out, this season or not. Will they be able to re-sign him? Higgy, what do you think?
I was reading stuff, and it was saying that for the money that Krug deserves, it would put him at the highest paid player on the team, about $7.5 to $8 million per year, which is what I was saying is would put him the highest paid player on the Bruins team right now per year. And I don't see them signing him to that much money. I could see them maybe a little bit less, but I don't see Krug as the type of guy that get the most money on the team. I think they would rather have Pasternak or a lot of other guys ahead of Krug making that type of money. I think it's hard for them to pay that amount of money to Krug.
Tiger, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, The downside is okay. I'm going to start with the upside. Is I think he's a good player. I think he's a good defenseman, and I think that he has the right attitude of a hockey player, especially in Boston, the winning mentality. But you do have to kind of look at what exactly could be wrong with him. He is a little bit on the short side. I mean, that's something, maybe it doesn't really matter that much for offensive players, but for defensive, it's a disadvantage. At this year, his plus minus is at -4, which isn't fantastic. It's not detrimental, but it's not fantastic. But he does have 9 goals and 40 assists. It's those are great numbers for a defenseman to have. I think he's good, and it's got to be the right amount of money because he's not a superstar, so you can't pay him superstar numbers, in my opinion. 5'9", 186, 28-year-olds, 28 years old. That's not your guy. That's not the face of the Boston Bruins, and so you can't pay him that money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but for a guy who has 49 points in 58 games, that's pretty good. And even though he is short, he's one of the tougher guys on the team. He's always in there. He's always just getting in people's faces, just always the type of guy that stands up for everybody else.
I will say he looks like he has a great heart out there and wants everything, everything that he can get. He wants to give everything that he can.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Is that top dollar worthy?
Tiger, I see your point with for sure his weight, his height, all that. To me personally, it's never stopped him before. In my eyes, he's always been a go-to defenseman that I've never really seen to kind of worry about,
He's had some flaws.
I mean, he's definitely had flaws, but I mean, everyone really has had flaws. I don't want to bring up Pastrnak yet, but he doesn't have too many flaws. I'll say DeBrusk. DeBrusk, he's definitely had flaws scoring. He's had some trouble on the wing, but at the end of the day, he still ends the season with around 23 goals, or he did last year, and I think right now he's at 17. If the season ever resumes, of course, maybe he'll get to 23, but I think he's just a reliable guy, and I think with the Bruins, the moves they've made to get that Backes deal off and to get Heinen's deal off, I think that was 2-point-something million. They took on Kase and Richie, who are making way less than Backes and Heinen were. I think they're trying to open up room, so if they want to at the end of the year sign him, they can.
How would you rate the Bruins defense as a whole?
With their prospects or no?
Just at current roster as it is, as they've been playing.
Current roster, I'd say it speaks for itself. I mean, Tuukka and Halak are kind of their own stories. They're great goaltenders, but I think without that core deep we have of Chara right now, Krug,
Vinny Carlo.
Geez, I don't know how. Yeah, Carlo, McAvoy, Grzelcyk, those guys are unreal. And
so why wouldn't you want to pay them maybe what you could pay Krug if it's those guys are much younger. Krug is the 4th oldest defenseman on the current roster.
He's the 4th oldest defenseman.
He's still only 28.
He's still only 28, and he's been
right. He's not like carrying around a walker, but is it too far past his prime to pay him
28
big money?
No shot.
I don't. No. I think
I'd be comfortable with giving him.
What are you saying, McGuire?
Like a 4-year contract. I'd be so comfortable giving him like a 4-year contract. I mean, honestly, longer for me personally. I'd say 4 years on the safe side. This is the type of guy that I want to lock in. I don't want to see him on another team because the second you see him on another team, he's gonna perform unreal there. He's just that type of player. Yeah, he's short, but look at Marchand. Marchand's short too, and all your life, you're just kind of going up against taller, tougher guys. And
to prove a point, almost too, right?
Like, What?
To prove a point almost too, to really just show
Yeah.
that kind of you're tough and you're fucking there to play, and you don't count your out because you're short.
I think it's a different story between if you're playing an offensive position and a defensive position. If you're playing offense, if you're shorter, you're more maneuverable. You can get around defensemen. If you're a defender, you need to make yourself as big as possible.
I mean, there's different ways to play defense. You don't always need to be the guy that just is out.
But if you're the guy that needs to stand in front of the net and make sure that the guy who's 6'5" isn't getting all up in your stuff, if the guy's got 8 inches on you and a lot more body weight, it's not going to be good. I'm not critiquing anything that he's done now. I just don't know if that's a sound investment.
Yeah. I mean, it's up for debate, definitely. I say we go right into the.
No, I think we should talk about this break and what teams do you think needed this break, and what teams do you think this break could have destroyed their chances of all their momentum going into the playoffs? I'll start with Tiger.
Oh, geez. I'm going to say the teams that really could benefit from it, well, not benefit, but it didn't exactly come at a terrible time, would be just San Jose, Detroit, and Ottawa, for the only reason being it stops the bleeding. For the Detroit Red Wings haven't lost a game in X amount of days, and I'm sure they're rejoicing in that because they've only won 17. But it does slow the momentum of teams like the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders, who are right on that verge. It's going to hurt them. And honestly, it may come back to even bite the Bruins, too, as they're only 8 points ahead of Tampa Bay. Now, it's still a comfortable lead for the Bruins, but you don't know what that pause can do. But I will say for the teams right on the bubble, right on the outside, and the teams like the Rangers didn't seem like they were doing anything at all when it turned from 2019 to 2020, and now all of a sudden they're a couple points away from being in the playoffs. They're a win away.
Yeah, but isn't that
from being
bad?
tied.
I feel like that's this break it would be bad for a team like the Rangers. No,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
Okay, because they're kind of
Yeah.
on a momentum, like they had a great season so far.
It's terrible. It's terrible for them.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I'd say for the team that lost the most momentum, I think that'd be the Flyers. The Flyers,
100% agree.
Yeah, the Flyers are tied in their division with the Capitals, both with 41 wins, but the Flyers had won 12 of their last 15 games before the break. They were on fire. 12 of their last 15 games winning to bring them all the way up. I think they were behind the Blue Jackets at that point, about 5th place in the Metropolitan Division, and then going to win 12 games out of 15, bringing themselves all the way up to 2nd place in their division, basically tied for 1st. I think they really lost the most.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The Flyers were on an absolute tear right before everything kind of came to a halt. They were 9 for their last 10. What did you say? 12 for their last 15?
Yeah.
Higgins?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just they were doing so good. Every line was clicking. Hayes is an absolute beauty out there, I might add. Everything was just kind of going their way. Every bounce, every little thing that.
Yeah.
I say we switch gears into NFL free agency a little bit. I want to start off where we have a bunch of people on this list here, but I definitely want to start off with Clowney. I want to know what you guys think of where he will end up. He's a great player, still young, only 27. I think he would be a great pickup for a team that can pay him. I'm going to start with McGuire here. What are your thoughts?
I think he's a really good player. He's definitely proved that over the years. And he's actually been quoted saying he wants to play for a contender. Not saying he hasn't played for a before, but possible landing spots. I can see him going to maybe the Giants, maybe the Colts.
Colts would be
if I had to narrow it down, I'd probably say the Colts. They have more calories.
Yeah, Colts would be good. And Colts be a good spot. I mean, I honestly think that maybe I think he wants to stay in the NFC because he was at Seattle this past year. I think maybe the Panthers would be a good spot for him because Panthers have a lot of cap
I
space
don't
as
know.
well.
He wants to play for a contender, and then the Panthers.
Panthers could be a contender.
Could they?
They could be.
I don't know.
They could be, possibly. I mean, because they had Teddy B. Keep in mind, this past year, they didn't have – I mean, they just struggle at the QB position. They picked up Teddy B., I honestly think he's a great, great player. I'm not, unbiasedly. I think he's a great QB. I think he's still a lot to prove. And they also got a good couple defense. I mean, not now. Not this year, Higgy. I kind of agree with you. I don't think they'll make the playoffs this year. But contender-wise, in the future, I think they will be a contender again. I think releasing Cam Newton for them is kind of, kind of garbage.
I think
getting garbage out of their fucking.
I think it was a super move for them getting rid of Cam Newton. Even though he was injured and hadn't really been that good in the past couple of seasons, like they don't really have much to replace him. I think.
Yeah, I understand that, but he's also been injured too, and it's just like it's kind of like I think it's time to move on. And if you're gonna sign somebody, definitely like they made the right decision with Teddy B. I say you're right. I say if anything, re-sign Newton, but they got the opportunity to get Teddy B and they got a contract together, and I say that's a better sign than Cam Newton right now.
I agree.
Are you guys going to rule out a potential return?
I wouldn't see that. After they just gave up DeAndre Hopkins and all this stuff that Hopkins came out and saying about Bill O'Brien and Watson wanting out of there, I've been hearing in the next season after his contract's up. I don't see him going back to that team with what they have now. They don't really
That's a cancer. That team's a cancer right now. Bill O'Brien, I think, needs to be let go ASAP. I think he's just a fucking clown. I really don't think that he's the right man for the team. He's just really screwed them. I mean, that trade was just asinine. And I think that because Clowney left, I think there might have been something there with Bill O'Brien and him too, because, why would you let a guy like Clowney go? So I think he definitely won't go back there. I don't know. I would like to see him somewhere. I agree with you guys. I would like to see him at a contender because he's a great player. Great player. His stats speak for himself. All right, I want to move on to Jameis Winston. Where do we think he's going to end up? Tiger, I definitely want to start with you.
Yeah, the list isn't that long. I mean, just off the top of my head, where quarterbacks go to die, Cleveland. Which I know they have Baker and they want to work with Baker, so that may not work. My other place or my destination for him could be Detroit.
Do you personally like Jameis Winston? Do you personally like him as a player?
I wish that he was as good as he could be. I hope for the best for him, to be totally honest, because I think that he has the star potential, but he sucks so bad. He needs to just
think more about his throws. He needs to just not toss it up there as much. He just threw it way too much last season with 30 interceptions. I think if he could cut that in half, he would be a different QB. Everyone would look at him completely different. If he had 15 interceptions compared to 30, everyone would be like, oh, okay, 33 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Like, 15's bad, but okay, 33 touchdowns, that's pretty good. I think he just
the guy threw 30 interceptions, and then after the season was over, he said they better sign me. My stats speak for myself. I mean, to me is just
guy surgery. So ridiculous. I mean, imagine comes out those no interceptions next year, those 33 touchdowns again.
That'd be great. You know what? I would like to see that. I like to see players succeed, but I mean, it's just you can't throw 30. My opinion of this is that you can't throw 30 interceptions and then sit there and say my stats speak for themselves. They do. You're right, Jameis. They do speak for themselves.
So,
that was so frustrating.
Can I
just put this in perspective right now? Put this in perspective. Jameis Winston had 30 interceptions this past season. The second QB that's like had the second most interceptions was Baker Mayfield at 21. And that's Baker Mayfield too. So like that's just to me is just insane. Like I don't see him getting a starting job anywhere. If a backup,
I would like him on the
honestly,
Lions. I think that'd
that's my
be pretty sick.
That would be smart for the Lions. That'd be smart. You get to sit behind Stafford maybe, and then just see how he does. McGuire, what are your thoughts on James?
I honestly, I think you guys are kind of nuts here. Not gonna lie. I was looking at his stats a little bit earlier. So this year he got the most touchdowns this year he's ever gotten in his career, like for a year. Most yards, total. And also most interceptions. I think everyone's focusing on the interceptions here.
Because you have to. Those are games that like they could easily be won if he doesn't throw those interceptions. Like those are 100%. Those games like they were an average team. They could have easily made the playoffs.
He needs to cut down the interceptions. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying the interceptions should go unnoticed because they should go noticed. He's had around 15 average, I'll say, which still isn't great, but I think confidence, and that confidence gave him the 33 touchdowns and the over 5,000 receiving yards. And I don't think that should go unnoticed either, because everyone's focusing on the interceptions, but no one's talking about the 5,000 yards and the 33 touchdowns. That's 5 more touchdowns than any other year, and it was one year where he had 28 in 2016. Every other year, he's had under 22.
Okay, so where do you think he should end up? And at that place, should it be a starter or what?
I think personally he should, in a perfect world, end up in New England. And I know that's a hot take. I don't think anyone would agree with that.
I want him on New England. I want him here. I think
you want him here?
Oh, I want him in New England bad. I think if he's on a team where he doesn't. I think if he's on a team where he doesn't need to throw it as much as he did last season on the Buccaneers, he could be a great QB.
Absolutely love to see him in New England because of Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have this system where they go through and they ask Tom what plays he's comfortable with. And I think if you did that with Jameis Winston, found out what plays he's comfortable with in practice, and focused on specific plays instead of him taking risks like he did with those 33 interceptions, I think it would work out way better for him because he has the confidence.
Tiger, what do you
want, Joe?
What?
What do you want?
What do you think?
About what?
About what he just said. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think he would like? Where would you like to see him with the Pats? Like,
sure. I agree. I think that whatever Belichick and McDaniels can do, I think that they can work some magic on him and get him to perform as he should. Maybe he throws less touchdowns than he did with the Buccaneers, but as long as you can get his interceptions down, I think he can be a bountiful quarterback.
All right, let's move on to Devontae Freeman. I'm not going to start with Tiger because he just cashed out. I'm going to start with Hickey here. What are your thoughts on where he's going to end up?
Devontae Freeman? Oh. I know.
Yeah, he's 28, dude. He's still 28.
I like him going to the Lions. I like him. Lions are an underrated team. I mean, they're not underrated because they have like 5 wins max, but I mean, they have a good team. They just need everything to go together. They just needed to click. I think Devontae Freeman there would be really good. He's a big, strong running back that can just run through people. I think they need someone like that. We haven't really had a big running back, a guy that isn't too young or that isn't too young and given the like whole team's like running game. Like Amir Abdullah was on the team and he just I think they put too much pressure on him as the guy and he just couldn't perform to what he should have done.
He fumbles a lot, though. That's the issue.
He does fumble a lot, but I just don't see him running it too
much. These next two players I'm going to list out, I think they could retire, and I want McGuire's input on this. Clay Matthews and Aqib Talib. What are your thoughts?
Clay Matthews. I like Clay Matthews. I mean, my first impression of Clay Matthews is he's this big, burly guy who he's just intimidating, Ever since I was a kid, I thought that, and he's kind of scary. I mean, in front of him, would you? No shot. I can see Clay Matthews. I don't think he'll retire. I think he's got plenty of years left. I can definitely see him going to Ravens. He had talks with them during free agency last year, and Ravens, and he chose the Rams. And he actually, kind of funny, he made a tweet joking about how he should have picked the Ravens considering they went so far in the playoffs. And
I think the
Rams
Ravens would be a good spot.
didn't really.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens would be a good spot, definitely.
I could see Clay Matthews retiring. He's 34 years old. He was on a Rams team last year. Didn't really do anything. I think with all the players right now that are retiring early due to concussions and injuries, he's been a guy that's been, over the past couple seasons, been injured a lot. Has really declined. He's been pretty good, but just hasn't been the guy that he used to be. I don't see him wanting to risk anything more in his career. That he's already proved himself as a great defensive player. I could see him retiring. I think Talib. I don't see him retiring. I think Talib is going to be a guy that is going to play until he can't anymore. I think he just has a mindset of wanting to play like as long as he can. But Clay Matthews, I see him retiring.
I think Talib's a guy that's always been like kind of overhyped. Not gonna lie to you. I don't know. He's just, to me, he's just kind of that ego, huge guy, and people buy into it. And yeah, he's a tough defender, but overall, I mean, he's not that great, and he's not that special, and he's just not. And I just don't know what he would look like at 34 years old this coming season. I don't know if anyone would want him at more than a year contract. I don't know if you would want to invest a guy like to leave at 34 years old. That's just my opinion. But any last thoughts here, guys?
Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde's a guy that could definitely have more seasons.
I like him
on
the Dolphins next season. I like him for the Dolphins.
That would be a good. I think that would be a good spot for him. Who do they have?
What?
Who do they have at running back?
They have Laird.
Who do the Dolphins have at running back?
Balaj.
I don't even know who that is.
I think that's the guy that they just want as close red zone type guy. He's a big, strong guy who just runs through everybody. Just a big red zone rusher guy. And the Dolphins kind of need that. They don't really have – they have some fast running backs, but I think they need a guy like Carlos Hyde to just be in there at the red zone and just run through people. And I think the Dolphins, next couple of seasons, with all those draft picks they have, I think they need a guy who, at his age, 29, almost 30, I think he'd be a good veteran-type guy to help all the new guys coming into the league.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, I think Carlos Hyde is going to stay in Houston. I can 100% see him staying in Houston. He's been on 4 teams in the past 2 years. I think he just wants to settle down. He's on Houston now. Why would he want to leave? Why would he want to go to another team and make it 5 teams in 3 years?
Well, if they don't sign him, if they choose not to sign him, because they have David
Johnson, but he could take a pay cut.
That's why he would want. Yeah, but he wants a starting job, so he's going to go somewhere that somebody can offer a starting job. That's why he would leave, in my opinion. Because David Johnson better be a starter. They traded Hopkins for him now at Houston. So I don't know. I mean, that's a toss-up. I think he's definitely a guy that wants to be a starter. And
I think the Texans are just a team right now that everyone just wants out. I don't think anyone in the league right now is a free agent is thinking, "Oh, I want to go to Houston." It's just not that team. I think if they shake things up, if they go for more guys, if they bring in a couple more guys besides David Johnson, who is kind of washed up. I think David Johnson is a shadow of the guy he used to be, is nowhere close after his injury 2 years ago. I don't know. I just don't see that.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Anyone have any lasting thoughts, Higgy or McGuire or Tiger? Anyone have any lasting thoughts?
No, I'm good.
I'm all set.
All right, guys. All right.
Yeah,
thank you, McGuire, for coming on the show. Tune in for tomorrow for episode 8. We have a couple of clowns on deck. So tune in for that, definitely. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on the show.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right. See you guys.
Yep.